Well, let's 7:01. So let's call the meeting to order. This is the Bristol Selectboard meeting on August 22nd, 2022 at 7:01 p.m. Call to order. Review agenda for addition, removal, or adjustment of any items. Any changes, Val?
No, I do not think so.
Okay.
Although when we get to item 4, the public hearing, I would recommend that it be considered like a preliminary hearing rather than a public hearing. I'll get to that.
Can you explain that a bit more?
Yeah, well, a public hearing should be a bit more formal, and I think at this stage of the process, where it's in a preliminary stage.
Okay.
I feel
We're still working through what we want to present.
exactly. Okay. So I'd like to frame it as a preliminary public hearing.
Okay, that sounds fine to me. Item 2, overview of Zoom meeting operations and procedures. Rules for participation. Please mute your microphones if you're on Zoom and be recognized by myself, the chair, if you wish to speak. Public forum. 5 minutes per person. This is for anyone to discuss anything that isn't on this evening's agenda. Anybody out there in person or in Zoom land? Not seeing anyone. Okay, we shall move on. Number 3, department head roundtable. 5 minutes per person for department updates. Let's start with Sharon, if you're there. Yep, there you are.
I am here.
Fantastic.
So I did sewer invoices today, which will be going out for the previous quarter. We are getting our new copier Wednesday. Keep our fingers crossed. The one we've been waiting for since October. And there's going to be a new liquor license process. It's all going to be electronic. We had a demonstration last week. They're hoping to go live this Friday. So the select board will no longer have paper copies to sign off on. So when you approve them, I have to put that in the system. So that's a new item that's coming down the pike.
Is it an easier procedure or?
Yes, we'll be able to see where they are in the process.
Oh, good.
Because they're hoping to start staggering and not everybody be done at the same time. So we'll see how that works out. But the program doesn't look that difficult. But until we start using it, we won't know.
Okay. Is that for all kinds of licenses, including like special event permits and things like that?
Yes. And the other piece is we have not been approving tobacco licenses, and we're going to have to start approving those as well. So that one's gonna. We used to, but then they stopped. They were going directly to DLC, but now that they've got this new program, they're going to make the tobacco licenses go through here as well. So it'll be any kind of liquor or tobacco license or catering permit, special event.
So was the staggering a pun on the liquor licenses?
No, it was not.
All puns intended. All puns intended.
Very good. Very good. Peeker is on point.
Yeah, he's on peak tonight.
Good one, Sharon. So how will they just be put in the agenda for our notice? How will the board?
Yes, so that you know they're there. So if there's any kind of conditions you want to put on them, like with the Hendy property down there with their liquor license, or we'll put in who approved them and what day. So they said we could print them out and have you guys copy them, but it would only be for us, and we can always print the items later. Because
it'll be a vote instead of signing it.
Yes, and then I can just put in that it was approved on this date by the select board.
Perfect.
Thank you.
All right. Anything else, Sharon? How did the election go? How did that process go?
It's gone fine. I still have to put in everybody that came in to vote, but I have a few days to do that. But I need to do it sooner than later because it'll be upon me. The 60-day requirement will be here before I know it.
Okay.
And we've done everything we can right now for the November election. So we're just waiting for the next deadline.
Do you know when absentee ballots will come in for that?
The state of Vermont will be mailing to every valid voter in the town that since it's a federal or a general election, they'll be available 45 days prior to the election. So what, the middle of September?
Okay, great. All right, any questions for Sharon this evening?
Sharon, to follow up on that last piece with the state of Vermont mailing them out to every voter, is it every voter or just absentee voters that request it?
No, it's everybody. It's a general election. Everybody will be getting it.
Wow.
Great.
So it's more work on our end when we start getting them back, because the ones that actually come and vote in person, we'll have to take them off as an absentee voter. And if they don't bring their vote back, bring their ballots with them, they're going to have to sign an affidavit saying that they didn't already vote, or they didn't bring their ballot, or they threw it away, which some people did last time. So
Because that's the same process
so
we did
good.
the last time.
Yeah.
Right.
So be aware of what's coming in your mail, and then if you want to vote in person, you can just bring in that ballot, and then it'll be a little bit easier to process.
yes, because some people thought they were voting on different ballots than the one they got at home. It's like, no, it's the same one.
Okay, good to know. All right, thank you very much, Sharon.
You're welcome.
Let's move on. Let's do, who else we got here? Let's take a lookie. Meredith's not here that I can see.
He was there a minute ago.
No, she's
No,
disappeared.
she's
Gone
not
away.
there. She's on vacation this week.
Well, there you go. Let's do Eric, because I saw Eric hiding in the background there. Well, not hiding, but in the background there.
Let's see, the two guys started their classes today for the CDL training. Our new truck is in service now. It's got everything. It's got the undercoating, it's got the radio put in, so that's in service.
Is it everything you hoped?
Well, it's there.
Give it time. Is it better than what you had? That's a better question.
Definitely better.
Okay, yeah, that's the better question.
So yeah, just plugging along. I mean, things are gonna start slowing down again, because we're gonna be two guys short for at least the next 4 weeks.
While they take their class.
Yeah. So we'll just be trying to do the best we can, so.
Okay. Question about sidewalks and, well, not sidewalks, the in the middle of the road things. When do you pull those off for the winter time? What month?
Usually November.
Okay. All right. I was going to ask if you had budget to get another one for the sidewalk that's nearest the creamy stand, since I've gone to get creamies there with my children and no one stops. Even if I'm standing there and we have the signs, still no one stops. But I know that's only probably about a month and a half left, or probably less than that. So maybe next year. But I thought there was one.
Might be in the spring, Ian, and I'll get one in.
Yeah, I thought we had one last year, but they probably got moved around, or maybe one got hit or something. So yeah, we'll do that for next year. But
Well, the new one I put up on North Street already got ran over.
yeah, it's leaning a bit. It seems like we can fix it. So yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, I know. Okay, any questions for Eric? All right, thank you, Eric. Let's see. I don't see Anthony on this evening. Is Bruce there? Is he in person?
Nope.
No, he's not.
Okay, wow. Okay then. Brett had a prepared statement. I'm going to paraphrase it because it's a couple pages. This is Brett LaRose for the fire department. Greenwood Cemetery water tank, they continue to fill that. They've done that 8 times this season. They have 3 prospective candidates for paid call firefighter positions, and junior fire with other 2 for the position of paid call firefighter, and the other for a junior firefighter program position. Let's see, new pumper report. Deputy Chief Foran has been in regular communications with the Lakes Region Fire Apparatus, the vendor, over the last several months. It's confirmed the town's new pumper has made it onto the assembly line. Progress is slow as parts are still trickling in, but as of now, the delivery of this vehicle is expected in September 2022, so that's pretty good. Firefighter Recruitment Academy, Brett says he's extremely pleased to report that 2 of Bristol's probationary firefighters have enrolled in the Firefighter 1 and 2 program that is being offered in Rutland Town starting this week. So that's good. Vehicular extrication training. Is that how you say that? Extrication?
That's correct.
Okay, vehicle extrication training. The Bristol Fire Department will be hosting the Vermont Fire Academy's vehicle extrication course this September. Annual recognition and awards event. Bristol Fire Department will be holding its annual recognition and awards event at the Bristol Fire Station on Saturday, September 10th. Calls for service as of August 22nd, 2022. The fire department has dispatched and responded to 97 calls for service this year, incidents. And then this report is on the website, and that'll have a breakdown of incident type. I won't read them all out. And then repeater and antenna project. The Bristol Fire Department, in cooperation with the Bristol Rescue Squad, has begun looking into alternative solutions onto where to place our antennas and store our repeater equipment to meet the needs of our organizations today and well into the future. So there's details about that. And then finally, hand sanitizer. Fire Department still has some of that Bar Hill hand sanitizer from Caledonia Spirits. They have 62 cases remaining. So if you need some hand sanitizer, you can get it from the fire department. And there we go. All right, let's move on. And it is 12. Okay, so item 4, public hearing, Town of Bristol Village Vehicular Speed Ordinance Revisions. This is a proposal to reduce village speed, vehicular speed limits to 25 miles per hour. They are currently 30 miles an hour. And this is also an opportunity for us to consolidate our other vehicular speed limit ordinances into a single document. And Valerie, town administrator, has been working on that document and has started one. And we have a draft of it that's available on the website, and we'll probably show it this evening. So Val, do you want to speak to this?
Yes, let me pull the document up to share my screen.
So there's a total of, I think, 5 or 6, perhaps 7 various ordinances we've had over many, many decades that we're looking to consolidate perhaps into a single document.
Well, that's a question.
Yeah, one of the few questions that we have regarding.
Right.
And the one that is directly related to the 25 mile per hour speed limit is an ordinance from 1957 for the village area. What is now, I guess we refer to that as the police district area. Right.
So what I have on the screen, can folks see it?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. It started out as a speed ordinance, and I used the term vehicular speed when it's really a motor vehicle. But we can fix that. So whether we want this ordinance to just focus on speed limits, which it can do, and if it does, I would recommend that those others be consolidated into it, or it can be broadened to include traffic control devices and other aspects of more like a traffic ordinance, like stop and yield intersections. There's also a separate ordinance that's not listed here about the one-way street for the school, the elementary school. Here are parking regulations because it's a 9-page document. It's just referenced. And then other provisions, general provisions and loaded vehicles, which has nothing to do with speeds. So, and this is based on a model, particular format is based on a model that was produced by VTrans in 2016 that a lot of other municipalities are using, with modifications specific to their particular municipalities. But in this instance, this is how I had proposed to consolidate them. This would be, this 5.1 would be the 25 mile an hour streets, and it would list which ones, and that's a question of which ones. Are all of them within the police district 30 miles an hour, including North Street and West Street, which we began to talk about at the last meeting, or do those get special extension to stay 30 miles an hour? So we would need to.
It was everything.
Yeah, that's what the vote. That's
North Street ends. The village ends at
the sign, doesn't it?
It
With the
is.
speed sign,
Yeah.
and then it becomes 40.
Yeah,
Right.
He's
Then
a
Plank
director.
Road is also included to a degree. So should that
To the
section of,
old- Yeah, down to the rock where the.
right, so should that section of Plank Road also be 25 miles an hour, even though it has a very different character than the interior village streets?
A lot of people are complaining about speed on that street as well, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I would think that anything that is currently 30, no matter what the road, because that's what was specified in that 1957 ordinance,
Yeah.
just becomes 25.
Yeah.
I think that's the easiest thing instead of doing
The
it
district,
street by street.
the old village.
Right.
Yeah.
So with Plank Road Picker, you wouldn't wanna go the whole length of Burpee, 25, rather
Right.
than
'Cause I didn't
not even
know.
halfway, and then change it.
We can speed up.
Well, it changes now.
Yes.
Changes to 35 now.
Yeah, only 5 miles an hour, which I guess
So
depends
it'd
on
be-
that either.
Yeah.
I mean, unless we have recommendations on roads that are currently 40 that someone wishes to have and has a reason that they would want to go down, I don't see an issue just keeping those as it is.
I guess the definition of, for example, Plank Road from North Street to the district boundary, and just leave it at that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
to the sign.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
This is boundary.
just like trees as boundary markers might change over time, perhaps the district boundary might be more definable.
And do we have, I can't remember on the
You
website
know-
if we have the district boundaries there somewhere so people could see that.
We're looking to make changes to the district.
Right.
If we do to the district boundary and then the district ends up changing, we
Right.
have to remember to come back and change this ordinance. Otherwise,
Yeah.
we,
Well, unless you want those 25 mile an hour speed limits to extend into those modified boundaries.
yeah.
I think I would, yeah, instead of district boundary, I might suggest doing road names since the likelihood of them changing is very, very slim. But you're right, the district boundary could change.
Well, it's not, the issue is like Plank Road, it changes. It
Like halfway.
changes just beyond the apartment house there.
Right. Well, there's J Drive right there.
Yeah, J Drive would work.
Yeah. But I don't know, I mean, is there a reason? So after J Drive, it turns to 40?
This is 35.
Oh, 35.
It actually turns
Ah,
right after Megan's Meadows, which is the apartment house.
yeah.
If you wanted to list the road, I think J Drive would be appropriate.
Okay.
A lot of people walk there.
Yeah, and unless we have specific people who live on that section of Plank Road that's 35 that have an issue with that, I don't see.
Talking like 100 feet.
Yeah. Right. Yep.
Just with pedestrians, there's a lot of pedestrians and people with dogs that walk on Plank Road all the way out to Burpee Road.
Right.
If we're trying to make the village a safer place for pedestrians, I suggest it's a good idea to go all the way to Burpee Road with 25,
Okay.
because the pedestrians are there, if you notice, because I do it a lot and I see
Okay.
a lot of people on that road.
Okay. Thanks, Jerry.
Thanks.
Sure. Any thoughts on that, board? Jerry's suggestion of doing the whole length of Plank be 25? Is there any issue with that?
You're talking about an extra half mile.
Yeah.
I know.
We might have a problem with it,
Uh-huh.
somebody else might have a problem
Yeah.
with it.
Well, I just remember what happened when we changed it all the way up around the corner of Hardscrabble. And we had all the neighbors in here up in arms, but that's a totally different situation up there.
Yeah.
I mean, that's rural and not a lot of walkers.
Okay. Well, I mean, since we are having a couple hearings regarding this, it's an opportunity for us to put that suggested into this now. And then if people do have concerns or issue with that, they can bring that to our attention either at the next hearing or, in between that. If people get wind and they have a question or comment about that, they could let us know.
Yeah, I would think that Burpee would be appropriate.
Okay.
For the sake of conversation.
Okay.
And
All right.
if
So
we
we have that. So Val, looking at your document, I had a couple of, so you had the North Street sort of in your highlights, North Street 2, So we have that.
So it would be North Street to where?
Hazel Drive.
Hazel Drive.
Maple
Yeah.
Drive, okay.
I mean, that extends that
Yep.
about
That's
500
that's
feet.
currently what it is. That's where the our speed sign is
Close to
It's-
the town.
yeah,
at Hazel.
500 feet to the town, but I don't.
And then
The thing is, if we did that, once you reach the sign, you're in the. Once you reach the speed sign, the
You're in the
radar
district.
sign, you are in that speed zone. So it's not. I think that would be more appropriate. You know, like the other two signs are within the speed zone.
Yep.
Because is 40 right up to the sign.
Right.
And so when you're approaching the sign from the north, it's flashing, and limit isn't 30 until you actually hit the sign. So I think giving it that little leeway would help.
so Peter, do you know where 40 ends?
40,
Goes all the way.
it goes
up
all the way to
Summer
the town
Street.
line.
Yeah.
Well, so if you're coming in, you said.
It starts right there, right where, you know where the sign is,
Yeah.
that's where it starts going out. On the opposite side of the road, there's a 40-mile-an-hour sign opposite that 30.
But are there issues coming in if you're going 40 and then you're going down to 25? Is that a concern that you're mentioning?
Concern is, like, right now when you come in, the radar sign is right where the speed changes. So
Oh, I
as you
see.
come by Hazel Drive, it's telling you you're going too fast.
Got
When
it.
you're not until you hit the sign.
Got it.
So if we made it to Hazel Drive and put the sign there and left the radar sign there, the radar sign would actually be picking you up when you should be doing 25. Because we.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So that's
So are we saying Hazel Drive or Maple Drive?
Hazel.
Hazel, so not Maple. So that would be North Road to Hazel Drive.
Correct.
Got it.
Main
North
Street
Street.
to Hazel Drive.
Yeah. Okay. And then I was looking at page.
Anyway, go back up. You had mountain with question marks or
Oh
something.
yeah. What was that, Val?
From the map I was looking at, it only had the word mountain and didn't have anything else. It's very, very teeny tiny stretch in the village, and I didn't know what the rest of it was.
Yeah.
Where was that, Val? Do you remember?
Spur that probably goes down to Kirk Roscoe's.
It's in the Mountain Terrace area.
Is that the one that goes up to where Wallace is?
Goes up a hill, I think.
Mountain Terrace goes down, right?
Mountain Terrace ain't that the one that goes down by where Jackman's is?
No, Mountain
That's
Terrace
out
is the
around
one
that
off Mountain
Heathrow.
Road that goes up by the,
High Street is
Sure.
off from where Wallace
Correct.
is.
that's High Street.
And this
Yeah.
Mountain Terrace is the main drive.
Main
So
drive
maybe
all
that's
the way
High
to the
Street,
gate.
because I don't see, you don't have High Street on here, do you?
High Street's a dead end. If you get going over 25 on that.
Well, but I mean, I'm saying she's got Mountain, maybe it's High Street, not. That's up
Oh, maybe
there.
it was High
Where
Street.
Wallace lives. Yeah.
Yeah. You could put High Street as 25. There's nothing after Mountain
High
Terrace.
Street's a dead end.
But I think you have all of them. Mountain Street is the long stretch that turns into
Yeah.
Devon Lane.
Mountain Street, Mountain Terrace.
Mountain Terrace is the dead end where I am right now, and then off Mountain Terrace is High. There's another road that leads up, but that's a private drive, so maybe that was it. But yeah, you have all of them on there. And then there's the Mountain View Street, which is to the left off Mountain Street that goes down to where Farmhouse Chocolates is.
Mhm.
But I think you have everything.
She's got that one in there, yeah.
And Sprout Street is private, I think. If you look so going to page 2, you talk about the 40 mile an hour and 50 mile an hour. And I think
The 17 one is wrong there. The directions
Yes.
are wrong.
Boy, because I'm reading that and going,
I
this
read
makes
it
no
3
sense
times.
to me.
Yeah, it's west from the school and east from the town line.
Thank you. I was trying north of Bristol Village. Which way you're talking about? B?
No, it's the
16 north from 100 feet to the Bristol
one that go-
Starkborough line. That one makes sense. Route 17 north of Bristol Village between the intersection with Vermont Route 116 and Bristol Starkborough.
it's the one that has Airport Drive.
Sally, you had a question. I see your hand up.
Yes, it has to do with when you were talking about Hazel Drive.
Yeah.
Something I noticed when I was doing physical therapy,
Yeah.
and I was walking or biking to my appointment at the physical,
Yeah.
Bristol Physical Therapy.
Yeah.
And cars came by, pretty quickly. And in the winter, there's nowhere for a pedestrian to walk except where they're going to get, splashed. They're right in the road because there's a berm of snow. So going slower there would be handy. Like if the slow thing happened just before the animal hospital and the physical therapy, so people would have access to that on foot or easy in and out. So that I think it would make sense to have it a little safer in that section between Hazel and that area that could be even developed more. There's stuff going on there.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Sally.
Sure.
Okay.
Route 17, the intersection of Airport Drive to Haven Town Line. See, it said east there before, that was different.
Which one are you guys looking at?
Well, it was the one that listed Airport Drive. It had east and west, and they were wrong. But now it just says 17 between the intersection of Airport Drive and New Haven Town Line.
So that one makes sense.
So it's not the same document that was on. This isn't the same document that was on.
That must have been the old one.
Yeah. The one that you sent us, it was.
Right. The one that was adopted, what was it, 2014, listed each street in going each direction. So here I just tried to interpret it as, rather than east, west, and west, east, whatever, it's in between. So for some reason, I don't know why they felt compelled to list it in each direction.
That took the error out, because it said east from Airport Drive, which is back into town.
Right.
And then it said west from the town line, which is the other way.
Huh, interesting. So theirs was wrong, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or well, this is ours, right?
Well, it would
Yes.
be. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
so
Val's
I
just
don't
sort
know
of
if we did it.
updated the wording.
They submitted it and we just. No, we must have done it.
We did.
So Val, looking at 5.5 B, I don't think that's correct. I think that one should be 5.4 C above, because it's 30 miles an hour.
That's from 17. That's from the turn to go up 17 to the Starksboro line.
Right.
Correct.
That's Route 17 though. Route 17 north.
By the Tillerman Lodge.
Yeah. Between the intersections of Route 116 and the Starksboro line.
Which is at the.
Vermont Route
So
17.
you're going, it sounds like he's going up 17.
Yeah, it's going up the hill.
I believe that's not 50 up through there. I don't
It
think.
is. I think it is.
I thought it was 40. I don't know.
I don't know, but most people drive it at 60.
Yeah.
Well, I know somebody who drives it regularly. What does she drive it at?
25.
I know. Yeah, maybe it is 50 up through there.
I think it is, but.
No, I think you're right, Val. I think I read that wrong. I was thinking that it was, you had put 50 from the Lord's Prayer Rock to over and out to the intersection, but you're not saying that. I don't know how I read that incorrectly. So I think you were right, Val. Because you've got in the 40 miles an hour, that's between, well, no, hold on.
It says
Yes, it
from
does.
100 feet north of the Lord's Prayer Rock.
1.1
Two.
miles.
I recommend that say to the district line.
It's 40 to outside the Lincoln Road. It
Yeah.
doesn't turn to 50 till beyond the Lincoln Road.
Right.
Right, you gotta go
Which
by
is
the-
about 1.1 miles from where
Oh, I see.
the
Okay,
Lord,
so that's
when it
right.
gets past Lord's Rock.
Mhm.
They run it.
So that 4C covers that. You
Right.
need to take that,
Got it.
Yeah. No.
either that or from
Yeah.
or change that so that it's from there to the Starksboro line. You need to change where that 54C ends is where 55A starts.
Starts, right.
Yeah, this was taking
Oh, yeah, that's what it was.
their exact language and just trying to kind of fit it into this structure.
Yes.
Yeah, but
Peaker's right.
that
That's what it
description
is.
is right. It's the 50 mile an hour that has to be changed.
Yeah, because you're starting from the Lord's
Starting at the
Fair.
100 feet from the Lord's Fair Rock, and that's
Should
actually
be from-
40.
From Lincoln,
Well, it's beyond
or
Lincoln
just
Road.
beyond Lincoln Road.
Yeah. It's beyond Lincoln
Okay,
Road.
so right. So 5.5A should just be split up into the 40 mile an hour zone. Is that correct?
No, no.
Oh,
It
should
starts
say
at 1.1 miles from
north of the Lord's
north of the Lord's
Fair
Fair Rock.
instead of 100 feet, 1.1 miles.
got it. Yes.
Okay. Wow, that was interesting. So in general, though, how do folks feel about taking this approach of consolidating all of these different zones into a single ordinance?
Well, being that we are no longer the town and the village, I would think that it would be appropriate that it would all be in one place.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think if they're all speed related versus our other ordinances, which are more detailed in particular areas, it seems like this makes more sense to have it's so you want to change it to not vehicular, but
Motor vehicle.
okay.
Yeah, I had lost track of that ordinary phrase.
Okay.
I think
You
that's
can't
what
just call it traffic ordinance?
well, we could. And that's a question, because right now we're just talking about speed limits, and we can limit it to just speed limits and call it the motor vehicle speed limit ordinance. Or we can broaden it to those other things and call it a traffic ordinance.
Is it just motor vehicle though? Jerry, you can answer the question. Can you speed on a bicycle and not get ticketed? You're muted.
You're muted.
If you get the right sheriff, you can get a ticket on a bicycle. Absolutely. We've had people on our bike trips get a ticket in little villages because they're blasting down a hill and blasting through a village, but it's not very often, but it can happen. Yes, absolutely.
Well, if they were being disrespectful and
No, you know,
not if they were being disrespectful and not obeying the rules of the road, I could see it happening. I know
Our guests are never disrespectful.
Yeah.
No, I've heard it maybe a couple times in my life with all the bikers, it's just, but if you're speeding, if you're on two wheels or on wheels, you can get a ticket. Absolutely.
They're
But-
technically under the motor vehicle.
Yeah,
motor
Yeah,
vehicle
they
yeah.
have to provide rules. So I just
Absolutely.
the vehicular cover it.
Okay. Mary, you have a question? And you're muted, by the way.
Yeah, just referring to whether police stop or not. In Shelburne, if cyclists don't come to a complete stop at the stop signs, apparently you get ticketed. So anyway, little
Okay.
tidbit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good to know.
There you go.
I'm in favor of. Jimmy, you had a question?
No, just a clarification. Bicycles, motorcycles, anything with 2 wheels, 4 wheels, 3 wheels comes under the motor vehicle statutes.
Okay.
One quick thing. I went around and made a map of our town where every 30 mile an hour speed sign is,
Oh, good.
and where every 35 miles. So I'll drop it off at Valleys tomorrow.
Okay.
Just so you can see where they all are and where they have to be replaced when they do it.
Oh,
Okay.
interesting. Very interesting. Thank you.
That documentation is also currently available on the open share for the Bicycle and Pedestrian Action Committee.
Okay,
Work that
great.
you-
I can, and yeah, the link is on. Well, I can send you the link, Val, if it's not on the website. Okay.
So,
thanks.
the definition that Jim just referenced is probably included in this general reference in the very top. of definitions, rather than listing all the specific things that could apply.
So looking
Well,
at
we
your,
just call it a speed ordinance.
yeah, it seems like that's the way to go.
So just limit it to
Dealing with
speed.
speeds, we're not gonna add the other, I mean, I'd like to have things all in one place and
Yeah.
really fit, so.
Well, so the other ones we've got these are the ones that Val referenced. 57, special regulations as to speed limits in the village of Bristol. And then there's 1977, Bristol Town Speed Limits Ordinance. And then we have ordinance regulating local enforcement of speed limit on a state highway. And then we have ordinance regulating speed in school zone, hardscrabble road, and then regulating parking, stop and yield intersections, regulate crosswalks, Mountain Street school zone one-way street, and policy relating to abutters and private owners. So there's a bunch of them, but I feel that it's going to get pretty messy if we start including all of them in there.
Yeah,
But I mean, we could just look at the ones that are just related to speed, which are those top 4, which I think, Val, that was your suggestion, correct?
Well, it's a suggestion. Some of the other things might be worthwhile. I think in this case, rather than specifically incorporating the parking regs, I think it would be neater to just cross-reference them.
Okay.
But it seems like
Can we cross-reference the others as
yes,
well?
yes, we can. Yeah.
So that they would all be included in this document, but you'd know where to look if you had a question.
Yep. It informs people that those other regulations do exist, like the crosswalk ordinance. Who knew?
Right.
I found that after I had worked on this draft, so I didn't include that, but it's among the questions of what do you want to include. And this loaded vehicles thing was part of the template that other communities are also using, and these general provisions were also part of it.
Okay.
I like the idea of at least cross-referencing them.
Maybe as a start, and then as part of the public hearing process, it might continue to evolve.
Okay, any other questions on what Val's got so far? Do we want to talk about, so we've talked about the South Street, where that will begin and end, correct?
I guess it's all,
I would do the Hewitt Road Bridge. Seems like a good cutoff point.
Okay.
Hewitt Road and South Street.
Yeah,
There is a 30 mile an hour speed sign past Hewitt Road on South Street, and it's just beyond Rounds Road, the private road.
You're right across from the mill.
Yeah.
So where, do you know where the 35 is after that, Jerry?
35 right before
No, I didn't check when the next sign's past that. I didn't. I could go out tomorrow morning when I drop this off. There, it's Lovers Lane and Hewitt Road is 35.
Okay.
Yeah, that's 35.
Eric knows where it is.
Okay, good. All right, so that's, I think,
is right before Rounds Road on Lower Knox Road,
okay.
as you're headed south.
So maybe we keep it, maybe we do it to there, to Rounds Road. That gets us through the narrows there.
Okay.
That's probably why they kept it 30 to there.
All right, so we have that ending. So south will be Rounds, ending at Rounds Road. What's Lover's Lane? Is that 30 or 35?
That's 35.
That's out of the district.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. The same as Hewitt's Road's 35.
Right. Okay. Any other questions, Val?
Not at this point.
Okay.
So wait, to South Street to not Hewitt Road, but what road?
Rounds Road.
Rounds.
All
And
right.
essentially, it's south, which then becomes Lower Notch.
Okay. The other thing, I'm going to stop sharing this one, if that's okay. Unless if there's we want to talk anything more about this one at this point.
No, I think we're good, everyone. Okay.
And I don't think I emailed it out to folks, but I did put printed copies of this document on the desks. I have a lot of windows open, so Okay, share screen. Sharing screen. What I'd like to do the next time when we're going forward is to actually do a public hearing notice, kind of like this, if you can see it on the screen.
Yep.
That's more specific about what is being proposed, and I'll update this reference line to more describe what we're talking about. But it would basically list or what it is that's going to be in this ordinance, and kind of follow the structure of typical public hearing notices for this kind of thing. And that way, I think it's a way to get the word out more clearly to the public about what's being proposed.
Okay.
And I'm proposing it being the next meeting on which we've agreed will be September 14th, a Wednesday.
Correct.
Yeah.
Everyone was okay with that?
I did hear back from everybody, including Joel, that the 14th would work.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a couple of emails in support of the 25, thanking us for working on that. And I can see a lot of people here on Zoom this evening that have been involved in speed and bicycle and pedestrian matters over time. I don't know if anyone else, any public comments from the folks joining us tonight with regarding the ordinance that we haven't talked about already?
Porter just texted that she supports it as well.
Okay, good.
Good for her.
Well, she's in the district.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, terrific. All right, so we will move on to the next agenda item, and we'll discuss this at the next select board meeting, which will be September 14th. Right, terrific. Thank you, everyone. We're on to regular business. Item 1, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Training Initiative with Porter Knight. Or discussion about with Porter Knight.
Valerie, do you want to introduce anything, or do you want me to just go?
No, I think I'll just let you take it from here, and I'll make you a co-host in case you want to share the screen for anything.
I don't think that I do, because you guys got the memo, so
Yep.
I'll just take questions. But so the grant that you guys approved this summer we got, which is terrific. The way the Vermont Community Foundation works, which is pretty cool, is they just send the money. So Valerie got the check, and that is in the bank. And so now it is up to us. We have a year to use the funds as we had intended according to the grant application. So in review, the grant application sort of had 3 parts. So the first thing that we said we were going to do was to provide education to town staff, and also invite all volunteers who are engaged in town commissions and committees. So it's an opportunity if they want to. And then the second phase would be having a consultant help us review our forward-facing materials. So our website, our town report, and our job descriptions. Just to give us any heads up about language that might be, off-putting or not inclusive. And then also as part of that, to develop sort of a really simple, we're calling it like a decision-making framework, but like a quick checklist for decision makers, department heads, and committees and commissions. Just whenever a decision is made, to just have like this quick moment of like, how is this impacting equity and inclusion and diversity in our community? Who have we included in that conversation? Is there anyone we've left out? Is there anything we want to do? So not something to make a big deal out about decisions, but a way for us to try to keep in the front of our minds this question, if we want to grow as a community and we want to look at these issues, how is this decision going to play out there? So that's phase 2. And then phase 3 would be just asking the question, like, what else do we need to do? Like, is there anything, is this good? Are we done as a town? Or does the select board feel like there's more that they would want to do after this 1 year? And so writing a little bit of a plan to look at various options. And there's a bunch of different models from that other communities have done. And also, interestingly, just last week, and I think Valerie shared it with you guys already, that the state of Vermont has this program called IDEAL program, and they're going to be helping communities communicate with each other about different strategies and approaches that they're taking, and helping us access resources. And so that'll be a great opportunity for us to take advantage of learning opportunities for, what do we want to do moving forward. So the education is the bulk of the grant spending, because we would be paying outside presenters to come in and do that training for us. We don't, we're not tied to exactly how much we spend in each of these phases, but I imagine that we would probably spend 60% or so upfront with these trainings for town employees and volunteers. And then after that, we would move on to do the review of language, the decision-making framework, and the planning. So I don't know if there's any questions about that. And then the next step is that I'd sent some notes Valerie suggested that I share with you sort of who I've reached out to for training and what that might look like. But I just wanted to see if there's questions about kind of like how we're using that grant money before we go on.
What happens if we get 3/4 of the way through and there's no more grant money?
We stop. That's okay. There's no like penalty or slap on the wrist for, I had written the estimates based on conversations with 2 consultants. So if, we end up having different consultants and they cost more, or, the town decides to do 5 trainings instead of 4, it's fine. I mean, I think what's important is that, that we honor the intent of the grant. They gave us the money to provide training for employees and volunteers to, look at the way that the town communicates with the public and the way we make decisions, and to make a plan for moving forward. So, and we can figure it out. I think we could also ask for more money, but I'm not going to lead with that.
I checked out the list, Porter. It seems like a great list. I didn't notice, there's a lot about interracial equity there. I didn't notice any trainings, including the LGBTQ plus community. I didn't know if that was something that you'd reach out to folks to have some training around that for the staff as well.
Linnea Johnson from Women's Safe, she's on that list. She's an advocate and educator at Women's Safe. And she does a really great training about gender and identity. She actually just did one last month for the social justice discussion group that I'm doing in town. I can't remember if anyone on this call was on that meeting, but she did a terrific job.
Thank you.
Okay. And she's a favorite for me because Women's Safe would provide that for us at no charge, which would give us a little bit of extra money for some of the other trainers. But I will say that, and I want to get this right. So Nadia DuBose of Creative Discourse, they do a training on implicit bias and identity, which actually starts with a whole exploration of like if it was us on this call, it would be the 13 participants on this call would do like an exploration of our own identity. Like, what does it even mean? Like, what is my identity? She does this thing about, identity, and then it leads into a conversation about implicit bias. So she talks about identity in terms of all of the different identities a person might have, which include, of course, gender, sexual orientation, as well as race or ethnicity or profession or I don't know, there's others. So she has, I think that's a great program, but I would probably lean towards the Women's Safe one so that we could use our resources with some of the others.
How do you picture, in terms of the amount of trainings or sessions that we might have to do? Do you picture it, obviously the town has a number of employees and a lot of volunteers.
Yeah.
Would you have one of the people on your list do multiple trainings, or would you try to, we would try to consolidate and try to get as many people together as possible, maybe in person or over Zoom, just because you can accommodate more people, you know, a little bit better with Zoom potentially.
When Valerie and I talked about it, we talked about asking to run each of them twice, because if it's required for town employees, then it needs to be offered twice, just because, you know, their schedules won't allow everybody to just be completely offline at a certain time. And, you know, just lives and families and a little bit of flexibility. So when I reached out to these folks, I said, you know, what would you charge to do training twice? And also Valerie and I had talked about making it be 60 minutes. We really want to get some good information in the hands of our employees and volunteers, but we also don't want to overwhelm them. And we know everybody has super busy schedules. I got some serious pushback from all of the trainers on that, ranging from like, you know, that this is a multi-year educational process. We're not going to change the world in 60 minutes to straight out, we won't do anything less than 90 minutes. So that's something we should, you know, explore. And, you know, I appreciate that. Like, I mean, in my work, I'm a professional trainer, and I get it that having a little bit more time allows you to engage with the material. And I think that makes sense. So I probably would lean towards saying, yeah, let's go ahead and do them 90 minutes, but we would still offer each one twice. Nobody said that they had limits on how many people could participate, whether it was in person or Zoom. One question that I would have for you and Valerie would be, do we want to have the daytime one be just for employees? So if employees want to not have the public or volunteers be part of that conversation, then that's just for them. But if they can't make that one, they could come to the evening one, which would have a Zoom component. So it would be in person or Zoom, and open to all volunteers and any town employees who were not able to make the one that was specific to them. Or whether we just want to say there's one in person during the day, there's one in person with a Zoom option in the evening. Employees could go to either one, volunteers can go to either one. I don't have an opinion about that. It's more about whether we want to feel like employees have a really safe space where they're not going to have to like defend their questions or their you know, their curiosity in the face of a larger group.
I was favoring that last option you described until you just said that about safe space for employees to not feel intimidated.
And that's why we're not going to record the sessions. Most instructors recommend that you not record these because people don't want to, they don't want a participant to feel like if they ask a question that it's going to be like immortalized and that it's going to come back to haunt them. We want people to feel like there's no dumb questions. It's okay to be confused. It's okay to be like, why are we doing this? Like, those are totally legitimate and appropriate questions to ask. And people should feel like they can ask them. And to this, at the same level, like we have the expectation of professionalism of our staff that they can ask that question and they're going to listen to the answer. You know, so we respect our staff enough to know that they're going to professionally listen, but we don't want them to feel like they can't, you know, it's okay to like vent or be curious or confused.
Yeah, I think support of your suggestion of having an employee-based one during the day, and if an employee isn't able to make that, then they have the ability to go to an evening one, which would be a more potentially more public, at least with the town's volunteers. I think that makes the most sense. Obviously, Val, you could take the temperature of that at the staff meeting and just sort of get an idea of what town employees feel about that. But then I think it's nice to have that separation, just because it is an employee of the town is obviously different than a volunteer for a committee.
I would support that.
Okay.
We have 2 employees on the call here. Are any opinions shared?
You don't want my opinion.
We do.
Oh, you don't.
I do.
Let's just leave it at that.
Okay. Any other questions for
Yeah,
Porter?
I can safely tell you, none of the highway department wants to do it. at all.
We're gonna keep it as short as we can and I'll provide
We
snacks.
ain't doing it. We'll pick a day off.
Actively avoiding it. Okay. Any other questions for Porter regarding this? What do you need from us? I mean, you obviously, Porter, I want to thank you again for your work on this. You've been spearheading this on behalf of the town, and obviously we received the grant because of you. I know you have a busy schedule. I don't want to feel that we're looking to you to do everything here, and obviously you do a lot. Is there a transition that you see in terms of you handing it over to the town to manage, or are you happy continuing in your role that you have now?
I'm happy to continue, and I just want to be clear that I'm doing this as a volunteer. None of this grant money is for me. It's only for the consultants who will be providing this training. And when I talked to Valerie about this grant opportunity, I was clear that I would be happy to do as much as is needed or step away at any point when or if she or any of you feel like you have the capacity to administer the grant. So I'm happy to shepherd it through. And from a timing standpoint, coordinating the setup, again, I'll work with Valerie to do whatever works. I was pleased and surprised that all of these consultants are actually pretty booked. Valerie and I had originally talked about trying to offer all of the training sort of before we get to the holiday season. So we just sort of like had that done. And then taking the winter and the spring to do phase 2 and 3. It's actually possible we might not be able to get all these guys to do the training, in which case we can wait. There's no hurry for us. We have until the middle of next summer to expend the funds. And if for any reason we didn't, I'm sure that they're not going to take the money back. They already gave it to us. I don't feel like there's any urgency there. So it's fine with me to work with Valerie and get the timing that's going to work for staff. And I think that's the most important thing. So if we get it done before the holidays, that's great. If not, and we wait until after town meeting, that's fine.
Okay. Well, speaking for myself personally, I would welcome your involvement and continued involvement just because you are very good at doing things like this. And I know that my time at the moment is tight, and so I can't imagine taking this on. And you're doing a terrific job. So I would welcome your continued involvement and guiding us sort of in the direction.
And then in answer to your question about what do we need, I'll defer to Valerie on that in terms of, my recommendation was that we move ahead with whichever consultants we can schedule for the intended topics in our fall timeframe. So if you can do that, then that's okay. But if you need to know it's going to be this person on this date, then I would have to do some more work and pin them down, which means we probably wouldn't be doing it this fall, just in terms of pinning them on dates and coming back to you for permission. So I don't know how you can approve the expenditures that way. I'll defer to Valerie on that.
I recommended in my report that the select board authorize Porter to hire one or more of the trainers as identified in the list.
Okay. I'd be fine with that. Board members, thoughts, feelings?
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I'm thinking if we're gonna have her do it, she ought to have the ability to hire the people when she talks to them, so.
Right.
Okay.
It would be a contract with the town, between the trainers and the town, but she has the authority to make those decisions.
Yeah, and just to be clear, because I'd be talking about like dates and schedules, that I would still be doing that hand in hand with Valerie, because I'm not gonna schedule a trainer for a date without her saying, this is a good date for my team, so.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, that's fine. Do you want to do a motion for that now, Val?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll move we allow Porter to schedule the trainers. Hire the trainers.
I'll second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on that particular item? All right. All those in favor say aye. Raise your hand. Aye. All those against, nay. Motion carries.
I just want to share a short story. This is kind of related to this topic, but it was a workshop or session that I attended many, it was actually at a historic preservation conference, where all the attendees had to pick a piece of paper and kind of put it on their head. And the piece of paper said something like snotty or angry, depressed, or class clown, or know it all, or these descriptions of people. And we had to role play, and the person needed to guess what the thing was on their head by how the other people responded to them. And it was a very interesting exercise because it drew attention to biases that we may have, perceptions that we may have about people, whether they're accurate or not. And then how we relate to them because of those perceptions. So it was an interesting exercise. So slightly related to this. I'm done with that.
Thanks, Val. Okay, so I think we can, are there any more questions regarding this? I think, yeah, Porter has what she needs. She has the ability to hire based on schedule. She'll work with Val on figuring out times and dates, and hopefully working towards something before the end of the year. And if not, depending on schedules, it would be moved to next year. Yep. Okay. Well, thank you very much, Porter. I really appreciate it.
Ian, you made the motion, but you didn't ask people to vote.
No, I did.
Yeah, we voted.
We voted.
I didn't hear. It must have been one of those skips.
Yep. Motion, the motion carried.
Good. I'm glad Sharon checked in on that. Yeah, that's all set. And you, Sharon, you have the who motioned and who seconded?
I do, yes,
Okay.
but I didn't hear you say, does everybody vote? So.
Okay. Yeah, it must have been just a jump in the Zoom, maybe a delay. But yeah, it was all set. Okay. Shall we move on?
Can I, since I see that you have ARPA on the agenda a couple down, I would be interested in just sharing a little bit about that since I haven't touched base with you as chair of that committee. So if it's possible to bump that up a couple.
Would that be okay, board?
We have the gentleman with the curb cut here. We probably should do that before we.
Totally fine.
Okay. I feel the others will be fairly quick, Porter. So if you're able to stick around.
No problem.
We'd appreciate that. Okay, thank you. All right, 803. So item 2, consider curb cut application for Thomas Lathrop at Hewitt Road, or on Hewitt Road, I should say. Okay.
I can clarify that it's an agricultural access, and Eric reviewed it, and he found that the site distance is adequate, is good, and doesn't require a culvert as long as the driveway's pitches away from the road no more than 2% grade.
Okay. Any concerns, questions from the board regarding this?
Make a motion, we approve with the foreman's conditions.
Okay.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor say aye. Raise your hand.
Aye.
All those against, nay. Motion carries.
Anything else while you're here, Tom?
What about our speed limit on the Hewitt Road? There's a wall of people up off that road, but it's a state aid.
Oh,
It's not a village road.
What's that?
It's not within the village district.
yeah, that's what we're working on right now is the district.
The local ones here.
Yeah, right in town.
Yeah, it should be. That's my cut. It should be.
Yeah, I agree.
So just to clarify, so Tommy, I know he's on Hewitt. He supports lowering from 35. Is that what you're saying, Tommy?
He supports lowering it there. He supports
In the village.
in the village, and he would support lowering Hewitt as well.
Okay. All right.
Even
Good.
though
That's
he's
good
not
to
going to
know.
reside there forever.
Yeah.
Nothing's forever.
All right. Thanks, Tommy.
Have a good evening, Tom.
All right. All right. Are we okay with bumping ARPA up to item 3? Would that be okay, board?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. Well, let's do
No, I think
that.
we should make Porter wait until we're like last thing on the list.
No, well, I was thinking like the driveway access might take a little bit of time. Coin drop would be fairly quick, but I didn't know how long number 3 would take. So I'm happy to bump that to 3. All right, so let's do that. We'll move that to item 3, American Rescue Plan Act ARPA funding update. Val and Porter.
I don't know what you normally say, so I'll let you go first.
I'm trying to find my report. Here we go.
Says this is just a holding place.
Right. Until Porter comes to a meeting and updates
That's
us.
right. That's right.
Now, I mentioned that this is a recurring agenda item and that the survey responses have been abundant as a result of the direct outreach and an online option and survey boxes provided during the August 9th election and elsewhere in town. Details are also in place for the spaghetti dinner on September 8th. At the last meeting, members began to hone in on criteria for sorting and perhaps ranking the funding requests and recommendations. This will be continued at the next meeting, and that Porter might be here tonight to provide more information.
Great. So the first thing that I want to say is thank you so much for not spending the money. Having convened a committee, we're super grateful that you're letting us do our work before you spend it. And I know that it's a juicy pot of funds. And I've actually heard from several other towns throughout the state who've called me because they saw, that Bristol had a committee. And they're very admiring of Bristol for being one of the first ones to get their act together in that regard. So nice job, you guys. Also, I will say that in general, I'm not a big committee person, and this is an amazing team. Everybody shows up and does stuff, and it's pretty fun. And I can't recall ever having been on a committee that I called fun before, so that's also cool. So we did these focus groups in the summer, which I think you guys might have heard about. And what was fascinating to me about that was that these disparate groups all coalesced independently, each group, on some of the same themes and concepts. So that was really interesting to us. Housing, childcare, and transportation came up resoundingly in every single one. And as a committee, we're cognizant of the fact that we, with $1.1 million, we can't solve a housing problem in Bristol or a childcare problem. But we took that into advisement and think that's really interesting to note. So what we're devising as we start to think about how we're going to evaluate all of these different ideas before we make recommendations to you is we have this Venn diagram, which accounts for sort of the principles that brought each of us to the committee and the things that we value, the concepts that we're hearing from the community, the ARPA eligibility, of course, and actual project suggestions. And so with this Venn diagram, the center of that is sort of a sweet spot. And so we imagine that the recommendations that we make to you will fit that sweet spot. We have had, I'm going to say probably, Valerie, well over 100 ideas submitted now between the website, the postcard collection efforts that committee members have done at Shaw's, at Senior Meals, at the Dump, at the band concerts, and Monday Music on the Park. So, we're giving people ways to send us ideas either through the town website. There's a survey on there that anyone can type something into, or they can mail the postcard, or they can drop one off. Oh, there it is. And actually, so this is a draft, and it was pointed out to me by someone who's actually more mathy than I am, that obviously our principles should just be an equal sized circle because our principles don't encompass ARPA eligibility. But anyway, that'll get fixed. Thanks for popping that up, Valerie. Anyway, so people have lots of different ways to give us ideas, and then the spaghetti supper is going to be sort of our, our finale event for that. And we're hoping to get a good turnout there. And again, just keep hearing from the public. And one of the things that we've said to people when they're like, well, isn't the ARPA money just for certain things? And we say it is, but we don't want the public to limit their thinking, because this is a great opportunity for Bristol to have a conversation with our community about what you think our town needs and where we should be allocating resources. So if we get 300 really fabulous ideas and only a portion of them are ARPA eligible, that's okay. Now we've got 290 really great ideas. And that's something that will help inform all of our committees and you guys and, other funding sources in the community. So we're going to collect all the ideas and you will get all of them. but our recommendations to you will be filtered through this sort of like Venn diagram thing. And so just lastly, and I'll take any questions you guys have, but we're sort of trying to time our recommendations to you after town meeting, because we imagine that in the winter, we know you're really busy with budget stuff. And so we're going to finish our collection in September, sift and sort and, evaluate those thoughts that we get from people, go back to the community for feedback on the directions that we're heading. So we're going to go through Front Porch Forum and hopefully some publicity to try to get Bristol residents to weigh in with a ranking or evaluation of the directions that we're heading. And then we'll come to you with something in the spring. So we want to make sure that we get it to you with enough time for you guys to get bids or whatever you need to do, or do more research or gather more ideas or whatever within the spending parameters. But we wanted to try to time it so it doesn't like land right in the middle of when you're doing a bunch of other nitty-gritty stuff.
For the with the suggestions that have come in, you said it's over 100, both through the website, the form that people can fill in, or the postcards. Are you seeing a lot of overlapping themes with those suggestions?
Yes, and the suggestions come in two categories. So some people have just a concept or theme idea. Other people have like a straight up thing. So like somebody might say, you should build an outdoor education space at the library so that we have, 4-season space for gathering and education. That's like a specific thing. Somebody else might say, we need elder housing. Which is like, okay, what do you mean? Do you mean apartments? Do you mean, what does that mean? So that's what we mean when we talk about sort of like concept or theme, like ideas. It's still a great idea and they're not wrong, but it's not as concrete as like an actual project idea.
So given that, is there, not that you don't want to turn down ideas from people, but would you prefer people have a little bit more detail on their ask? Like, what can you do? So if it is just like elder housing, is the committee going to approach something where you present information to be able to potentially realize that idea, or is that going to fall by the wayside because there isn't enough detail to go on or go with for that one?
I'd say it depends. So to your first point, you said, do we want things with more data or more details? And we as a committee decided no, because what we didn't want to do was turn people's thoughts off if they don't have a construction background and they can't tell us what the estimated build cost is going to be on something like that. So we're casting a broad net to collect ideas. Then we're going to play with, and that's what we'll be doing in the next 2.5 months, is sifting and sorting. And so we have one example that we've already played with of taking all of the cards that came from the dump, and one of our committee members, Betsy Blair, took all of those and she put them under categories so that you could see like there were like, 10 ideas under this category, and some of them are more thought out than others. So again, like the elder housing thing will fall under a housing category. That person may not have had an idea, but somebody else might have said, you should set up a fund to, have a revolving loan or whatever for affordable housing, whatever. So it might support another idea that does have more detail and depth. And then it may also be the case that we come through the winter to the select board and say, like, here's some really hot ticket concepts, and we should, as a town, work to find more detailed proposals. And again, we talked about that at our last meeting and said, we think that that's your work to do. We want to give you recommendations. If we don't have thought out enough project ideas for you, but we have strong recommendations in a certain area, you guys can take that and run with it, or you can come, back to the committee and say, okay, you guys did your first job. Now we want you to do something else. And there's some people on the committee who are like, yeah, I would stick around and do that. And others who are like, no, and I take the first one. So I don't have an answer to you for that right now. But those are questions that we have also identified.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think we would welcome your input and your suggestions earlier than obviously us making decisions. It'd be nice to sort of get to that point where if you do have a bunch that need better realization in terms of those concepts or ideas, that we'd be able to sort of tackle those perhaps and flesh them out if we were able to. Okay. Any questions? Any other questions for Porter on ARPA from the board? All right. Thank you, Porter. Thank you, Val, for those updates.
Thanks.
Richard just put his hand up.
Hang on a second. Who's putting his hand up?
Richard.
I thought I was clapping for Porter. Thank you.
Well done.
That's good.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, well, let's move on. Thank you, everyone. Is Porter on for anything else in this meeting? Let's see what we can rope her into.
No, I'm gonna leave. Thanks, though.
Okay. Thank you, Porter. I think you've done more than enough of your volunteering and sharing information this evening. Thank you.
Yeah, who knows what you'll get if you're not here.
Well, she just admitted in public that she's starting to like committees, so I'm going to put that in the back of my mind for a while. All right.
You're muted, Porter.
I was just saying that this was a particularly good group, and that was kudos to you guys because you picked them. So thank you for my team.
All right, moving on. 817. This would be item 4. Review draft to consider acceptance of a proposed consolidated driveway access and work in right-of-way permit application.
Hopefully folks had a chance to look it over. And as it relates to the previous agenda item, I included a copy of the approved work in the right-of-way permit related to the curb cut and pointed out that currently the work in the right-of-way permit only requires the approval of the Public Works foreman and does not require select board review, unlike the curb cut application, which does require select board review. And the term curb cut and driveway access are used interchangeably.
Okay.
So this was an effort to consolidate the application process into one, because in previous times, sometimes the work in right-of-way permit was overlooked.
Okay.
And I hope we captured all of the essential details between the two. And one of the things that I did in this draft, we've talked about in the past about how to include sidewalks in this work in the right-of-way process. Oftentimes that got overlooked and folks didn't realize that, gee, it's in the right-of-way. Maybe we should get approval for that. And so that was added, a detail was added to the specifications. And just thinking about when this applies, examples of work in the right-of-way on sidewalks on Main Street, where property owners had scaffolding over the sidewalk to do some building repair. Well, they obstructed the sidewalk, but they made safe passage, but nobody knew that was going to happen. Another situation over on Church Street, scaffolding was erected over the sidewalk there for repairs on the church. People had to walk in the road to get through. And so if there had been some sort of review process, even with the Public Works foreman, there could have been a discussion about, okay, you're going to put the scaffolding here. How are you going to help pedestrians get by?
Right.
You know, cones or some sort of thing for safe passage. So at least it's listed here now in the policies.
With this particular one, are you proposing that the select board votes on both, since it's a combined application? Or
no,
it depends on what is checked on that?
Exactly. It still can be just the highway foreman or the select board.
Is there a reason why the select board approves curb cuts versus works in the right of way? I don't know if Peeker knows the history of that, or.
I got the perfect answer. It's the way it's always been.
Do we want to think about changing that? Not that I want to change it, but we're talking about this. You know, do we need to approve curb cuts, or should we be approving works in the right of way, or is that something that the road foreman would be able to do.
I believe state statute requires the select board to approve new accesses onto town highways.
Okay.
I don't know that it says anything about work in the right of way, like installing a culvert.
But I think it is good, I mean, at least this way, when they fill out the application, they'll have both.
Yes.
Actually, it's up at the
And
top.
Whether when,
Work in the right of way or access permit. So it depends on what gets checked.
Yeah.
yeah, and when Eric goes, or when the foreman goes and looks at the project, he would be signing off on both.
Yeah.
Because he signs it and sends it to us, and then we bless it with his conditions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a question. I about this before, but the $250 deposit for the work in the right of way, why do we not charge like a minimal $50 fee for the work in the right of way permit? I mean, I think all the towns do. I think Middlebury charges for their work in the right of way.
Just
I mean,
to process the.
Yeah, I mean, it takes time for Eric to go and look and make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing and checking on them.
It's a
And he
good
has
point.
to revisit it.
Right. I mean,
So
it seems to me that we should at least charge something.
Yeah. I think Michelle's right. Yeah.
So we
Not
could
what Middlebury charges, but.
So we could add a sentence here that if a fee is required also for the work in the right of way plus an additional $250 deposit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess you could, you add it to a fee of $50. Well, yeah, it's payable. The town of Bristol must be submitted with all work in the right of way or access permit applications.
Yeah.
Is there a case where you would do both?
Driveways or
Okay.
both.
So then if it's both, are you paying $100?
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
Plus the $250 deposit.
Okay. Which they receive obviously back. Yeah, I'd be fine.
Most of the
time.
time.
Yeah. If you want to add, the $50
Why wouldn't they
fee
get
is
the
for
$250 back?
either of those.
Damaged the road and
Okay.
didn't fix it.
Yeah, if it's not put back the way that it was or whatever. then-
Does
Yeah.
$250 cover it?
No.
Not really.
No.
So why do we up that fee if
Yeah.
it doesn't cover it if they damage something?
Well, isn't it in there that if they damage something that has to be fixed, so we should have the teeth to be able to go after them.
Middlebury's application fee is $100.
They're working right away,
Yeah.
and it's not refundable, it's not.
Does
No,
no
refund, yeah,
refund.
no, they don't, I'm sure.
They don't ask for any, but they don't ask for any kind of deposit
Right.
either.
But they probably don't issue a certificate of compliance if they don't fix whatever's.
I would say,
That's part of their-
I would say if we have it in there, if we charge for it and we have it in there that they have to fix anything they damage, that we don't need to charge the $250. I mean, if $250 isn't gonna cover the time for the guys to go out and do anything.
And just charge a fee.
So the cost of fixing something is gonna be more than that. And we're not, if we don't get that, if we can't get that.
Yeah, is it more work to do the deposit and then return that than it is to charge nothing and just have in this document, if any damage is done, that they're paying for it? I mean,
I think Peter's saying you charge a fee, but you don't do the
Yes.
deposit and just have in there
Yeah.
that they're required to fix any damage they've done to the town.
So if
Damage
Middlebury's
damage caused will be fixed at their expense.
okay. And I don't know if we have that in that document right now. It says, that the applicant is agreeing to, they assume all responsibility for damage to persons or property resulting from the process of such work and to hold the town of Bristol harmless. But it doesn't talk about, it says to agree to replace the surface of the street, road, sidewalk as good as it was at the condition that time of work began. Is there anything specific to replacing or repairing? Not really. So we might want that in there.
Yeah, I think you add that to that, Val.
Mm-hmm.
To your list there on the last page,
Yeah.
page 3. And then how about doing the fee? The fee is, we change it to 100. We take out the deposit, but we change each of those fees. A work in the right of way is 100, or an access permit, curb cut is 100.
It's $200 if I want both.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that fair? Is that too much? I mean,
Eric, what are your thoughts on that?
It doesn't matter to me.
yes, it does, because that
Either-
money
either-
goes back into your budget.
No, don't.
It should be.
Well, it don't.
It should be, because that's the highway department
At least
stuff.
that's what I've been told.
I mean, Eric, do you feel that there would be pushback if we raise the fee to 100 for either of those?
Well, not, I
Considering
mean,
there's nothing now.
Well, yeah,
they're not gonna be too much of a pushback if they wanna put a house up.
that's right.
Exactly.
If they want access, they're gonna have to
I mean, we charge
pay
for,
paper,
water connections, we charge,
Yeah.
building permits.
Of course, they're
zoning
gonna
permits.
have to, to work in the right of way to hook the curb stop now, it's gonna cost them $100 too if we do that. So you're adding that to the cost of the water service.
Yeah.
But also, I mean, yeah, not outside of the cost that they'll accrue putting a house in. That what we're asking for is just a minimal payment for the town's time, which in some cases, is a few hours, and that's not $100. That would be more than $100. So it seems, even at $100, it seems fair for Eric to spend the time to look over these and to make sure they're correct and to go back potentially. So 100 doesn't seem much, especially if you're building a house these days.
So 100 for each, and responsible for any damage.
Right.
And I don't know how detailed we want to get with in terms of responsible for any damage and then replacement. And then how do you work to replace it? Are you doing it with your own contractors? Do we need to get more specific with that?
I just think that it'll be paid for at the owner's expense, whether they have it done or we do it.
Yeah, something like that, I think, just to have that detail so it's very clear. Like any damage is paid for at the owner's expense.
And eliminate the deposit? Sorry.
Yes.
And no deposit, correct. And then this fee should go into Eric's budget. He'd like that to happen.
Should both of these go in?
Do you want to make those changes, Val, and just and present it at the next meeting?
I would like that. Yes, I'd like to make those changes for your review and to finalize at the next meeting.
All right, that sounds good.
It's gonna take some education too.
Yeah. Well, we've been talking about this with the water line repairs and replacements that happened in recent years and the roads are opened up and without permission. So yeah, we've been trying to get that education out.
Okay. Any other questions for this item? All right, moving on. Item 5, consider coin drop application NH Munsill at 15 West Street for October 9th, 2022.
With Bruce's conditions.
Okay. Is that a motion I heard?
Yes.
Okay. Any seconds?
I'll second, sorry.
Okay. Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Raise your hand. Aye.
Aye.
All those against, nay. Motion carries.
I think we're required to wear this anyway.
All right. Item 6, review and approval of August 8th, 2022 meeting minutes.
I didn't get a chance to look at them.
I looked at them earlier, but I didn't see anything glaring.
Okay. I sent in my suggestions and edits to Val. So if we're happy with that, Val, or anyone want to make a motion to approve those, or do you want to push it to another week or another meeting?
No, let's approve them.
Okay.
I'll look at them tomorrow. Balance it every much.
Okay.
Okay.
Retroactive.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds fine. All right, do I have a motion?
So moved.
All right, motion, second.
Second.
Further discussion? All those in favor say aye, raise your hand.
Aye.
All those against, nay. Motion carries. All right, item 7, authorize accounts payable warrant and any liquor licenses.
Okay, the accounts payable warrant is 107,305.82. And I do have a special event permit that I'm the one that has to sign off on it. It doesn't require, at least for DLC, select board approval, but it's for the Bristol Firemen's Banquet that's on September 10th.
Sounds good. Thank you very much. Item 8, Select Board Roundtable. Let's start with Darla.
I don't have anything this evening.
Okay, Michelle?
Val, we can probably talk about this later, but I was just looking at the revolving loan fund status report. Can you give us an update on Vermont Free Goods? Do we know where we're at with them?
I cannot give you an update at this point. I did reach out to John, maybe a month ago, asking how things are going, and silence in return. I was going to follow up again this week.
Okay. All right.
Anything else?
Perhaps he's just been way too busy with all of his new stuff.
Well, let's hope so.
Yeah.
The other thing, Val, in the green folder here is the municipal policies for the equal employment opportunity policy. Are we all just supposed to sign this?
Say that again?
There's a municipal policies and codes form. It says equal employment opportunity policy required by 24 CFR. So I just wondered if we are all supposed to sign it. It has all our names on it, so.
Has all our names in a tag that says sign here.
I guess so then. I'm not familiar with it. I haven't seen it, so I don't know.
It's your green folder, so if you didn't do it,
I'm sorry.
who did it?
I'm sorry. I didn't. I'm not hearing everything correctly. So yes, please do sign it.
Okay. Well, I did.
Yes, please do sign it.
Okay.
The select board approved it on whatever date that was on
Okay.
there.
All right, good to know.
August 8th.
Anything else, Michelle?
No, I think I'm good.
Okay, Peeker,
Thank
anything?
you.
I'm good.
And I have nothing for this evening. Item 9, Town Administrator's Report. Anything else to add, Val?
Well, gosh, I actually have a lot. I didn't have time last week to squeeze all this into my town admin report, but I want to report that I reached out to Preservation Trust of Vermont. I know that they provide assessment services for historic properties, and I brought to their attention our intentions with the Lawrence Library and the Holly Hall, and asked if they had resources to do an assessment. They offer small grants. I guess it's to pay the assessor, and apparently some of the folks on the staff do the assessment. And so I'm in the process of working that out, and it turns out a Preservation Trust of Vermont did an assessment of Holly Hall in 2006, and a lot of what they recognized were the repairs on the bell tower that we finally accomplished last year. So that was very interesting to me. So I'm moving forward with that. Ted and Lila stopped by today, inquiring about our warranty on the paint job of Howden Hall. And it turns out the paint job had a 3-year warranty in the contract and in the scope of work. And that scope of work was executed on July 19th of 2019, exactly 3 years ago. And he noted that the paint on Howden Hall is bubbling and separating and cracking and peeling. And yeah, so 3 years from that job, and boop, out it goes. Let's see, just wanted to note that in my TA report, I completely overlooked a week on my schedule. I skipped the week of September 5th, noting that Monday of that week is a holiday and the office would be closed, and that I, at this point, plan to be in the office the rest of that week. And the other thing I wanted to report, and I tried to do it, I tried to squeeze it in my TA report, but ran out of time. The FEMA, let's see if I can find it here. Yes, this is worth sharing. Just late last week, FEMA came through with the funding on the pad, the fishing, universal fishing platform.
Yeah.
And can you see these numbers?
Yes.
Well, these are real numbers. Let's see. So 92,000 for the repair, and then 84,000 for the hazard mitigation improvements. Of that, the totals 176,000. The federal share will pay 90% of that, and the municipal share needs to be almost $18,000 for that project. We haven't received any of the official paperwork yet, the grant agreement and the conditions and the timeline of the work, but that's very good news for this project. It's finally coming to a point where we'll get those final approvals. I expect to receive those final approvals this week. It's in the process right now, but I just wanted to share with you that's what we got.
Awesome. That's awesome.
And I think that's it for now.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you, Val. Other business, correspondence, reports, correspondence received. I think we just have the revolving loan status
Right.
on there. Anything else?
That also reflects that the treasurer's office is succeeding in catching up on a lot of the backlog that was left as a result of the transition between treasurers, and also during the audit process that really compromised people's ability to stay on top of other things. So that's all good news.
Any update on the audit?
We have not yet received the very final management letter from them.
Okay.
I did receive an email, but I haven't opened it yet about the audit.
Okay. We have executive session this evening.
Well, with Bruce not available.
He's here.
Oh, he is here. Oh, great.
Okay.
You should have snuck out.
He's so close, Bruce.
But then we do have an executive session.
Okay, we do.
And the purpose is to continue discussions about the police union contract.
Okay.
Okay, I make a motion that we enter executive session regarding labor relations agreements per 1 VSA section 313. Do we need to do personnel matters or not?
I don't believe so.
Okay. 313, and I invite Bruce to attend.
Okay.
Now I see Francis is logged in. Bruce, would you like Francis to join?
That was a no.
Okay. All right. That is a no. All right. Thank you. All right. We have a motion. We have a second.
Yes.
Yeah, Peaker second.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Raise your hand.
Aye.
All those against, nay. Motion carries. We are in executive session. Thank you very much.
Oh, Mary.
everyone.
Good night, Eric. Thanks, Eric.
All right.
Oh.
Let's see.
Kick Francis off.
I'm going to remove Francis. Goodbye, Francis.